Hello out there. We're on the air. Happy Thursday, everybody. How we doing? I got some music playing here or something. There we go. Happy Thursday. It says 0 people in here, but I don't think that's the case because I see a lot of chats. Chat's buzzing. There we go. Okay. Welcome back. Welcome to another episode of the Daily Bitcoin Journey. This show focuses on actionable and logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. Got a good show today, an action-packed show, you might say. But let's start with a couple shout-outs because we got a couple zaps, some pregame zaps. Big one last night. I don't know who this came from or what it was for. Maybe just a video that was on the YouTube. But anyway, somebody sent in 10,000 sats to Arnie's wallet, to this QR code right there. Anonymous too. So I don't know who it was, but thank you. And we got a 555. It's a good start to the day, and I think I saw a chat about it. Morrow. There it is, verified. Verification. 555 sats to King Arnie this morning to start the day off right. So thank you, Morrow. Thank you to the anonymous zapper. And it looks like the zap stream's running today, which is good. It's been down. It's been not working. But it looks clear as day on there now. So if you're watching on Zapstream or sats.gg or Fountain now, which is available, looks like it's good to go today. We already got a zap over there. Spaceman, 88 sats to start the day. So I'll do one reminder and then we'll forget about it for a while. But if you want to perform a magic trick, you just scan that QR code right there somewhere. Send in some sats if you feel like it. You can send 1, you can send 2, you can send 10,000 in this case. But all amounts are greatly appreciated, and let's get her going. First comment of the day today was Donnie. Cheers, Donnie. On the ball, 750. Pretty early one today. Morning, Jay. We got Rick in the chat. Today is a good day. Is it ever? I feel that as well. It is a good day today. I'm hearing that the Epstein files are coming out today, but I feel like I've been hearing that for like 4 years now. So I never get my hopes up with anything anymore in terms of announcements. You can kind of foresee, I have no doubt that they're coming out. I don't. Like the Trump admin is not fucking around with anything right now. You got Kash Patel in there as the FBI director. Like, that's insane to me that's a real thing. It just kind of snuck up. Like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain for somebody who's been in this world for the last, I don't know if it's been 5 years, but between 4 and 5 years, like pretty deep into this stuff in terms of like the corruption, the weird stuff going on, waiting for some justice to come to these people. After all this time, it feels like it's here and it's bubbling at the surface and it's just about to blow up. So that's my feeling. I never really rely too much on like rumors or anything like that. And I don't wait for things to be announced either. I'm just like, you can kind of tell, you can connect dots yourself. And I know that there's a lot of people out there who struggle doing that, and they need a source or they need a whatever. They need the TV to tell them what's going on. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't think anybody here will be too shocked about who's on that list, but I don't know. We'll see how it's received by the public, I guess. But anyways, we got Duncan's over in the Zap stream this morning with an 88 sat zap, so thank you for that. Good start to the show today, folks. Josh is over there as well. Said the NOSTR feed works today. Yay. Good news. We don't have to spend half the show talking about it anymore. And Josh zapped 888 sats for our guy, Arnie. Thank you, Josh. Bitcoin Buddha's here. Duncan's in both chats. Look at that. Timber Crasher says, Bitcoiners are my people. Amen to that. Amen to that. It's a special special breed of people are Bitcoiners. It's a real, I don't know if it's a filter or not, but it's a pretty good starting point for a lot of relationships. I've met so many incredible people in these last couple of years, year and a half. I've just been kind of scrolling through Notepad. I'm trying to continue on with the 365 and pull things together, or not 365, the proof of work, pull things together. And I'm kind of blown away with the amount of people that I've been in contact with within Bitcoin in the last year. It just kind of happens and happens quickly. But then when you look back, it's like, wow, there's something pretty special brewing here. I will say that. Good morning, Tom. Beautiful people. Another Tom. Look at that. Tom squared. Killers in the chat. By the way, I want to give a shout out to Tom because Tom had a really good comment last night, and I want to share. Always like sharing good comments and love, sharing love. But I think he was on the video. Yeah, there it is. So Tom said, "This is my favorite Bitcoin fellowship on the internet." In regards to 88 Sats channel, I believe. This is my favorite Bitcoin fellowship on the internet. That is courtesy of Tom. I would agree with that. I haven't seen too many better communities than this one. Not only like very supportive, not only very consistent, but extremely knowledgeable. Like that's the thing that I'm most impressed with this community is just how knowledgeable people are. It's awesome. Anyways, thank you once again, Morrow, for that. Cleaner Machine, good morning. Tom says, I started using Ember for passive sats. No gambling, just a small drip. Has anyone tried them? Any good or bad experience to share? Sorry, Tom, I'm not entirely sure what you mean there. Passive sats, no gambling, just a small drip. Well, the thing about that is you do have to gamble. You have to gamble with them. And I shared that link on Ember the other day on the channel and actually maxed out my earnings. I guess you can only earn so much per, I guess that makes sense for their sake. But you actually have to earn them first, and then you have to gamble with them in order to withdraw them. So it's a bit of a funky process trying to withdraw the sats from Ember, but still pretty much my plan with Ember is that I'm just going to like let it hum for about a month or two, get the balance way up there, and then I'll just start chipping away, gambling, whatever. I was playing a really fun game last night, actually. I think I'm going to stick to it. I think anyways, unless I dreamt that, which is very true, very possible. But anyways, if anybody wants to join Ember, I don't know if again, mine's maxed out, so I can't really earn anymore. But I think you still need a code to earn. So you can still use my code. I just won't get anything for it, but that's not the entire point of everything, right? Where is that? ZBD. The other thing too, make sure you're using ZBD. I'll throw this one in here. This is for, I've actually been sharing this with quite a few people. The Ember link, the ZBD. I mean, it just makes sense. We're not going to have this ability for very much longer, I don't think, in terms of like being able to earn free Bitcoin. So that's the ZBD link. I don't know what you get for it or what I get for it. I don't think it's anything, but definitely get onto ZBD every day. It's very simple and it's very easy to do because ZBD is not allowed in Florida. That's shitty. Basically, all you do with ZBD is you just go on there once a day. I take a poll every day at the same time. I do Ember, ZBD, ShakePay, listen to a song on Wave Lake, and that's kind of within 10 minutes, I get all my sats done pretty much for the day. So ZBD, you just go on there and take a daily poll. And I think you have to go 2 days in a row with answering the poll, and then you can start earning sats. It's like 10 sats, 50 sats, whatever. And you can watch videos on ZBD too for like 4 sats per video, which to me is a no-brainer. If I'm just sitting there watching TV at night or whatever, I'll just keep pressing watch video, 4 sats, 4 sats, 4 sats. You don't have to watch them or listen to them or anything. You just play them. So there you go. Angel investors. I'm not sure what that is. Is that in regards to Ember? I don't know. We'll do it live. Exactly. Buck 52. Good morning. Do you think if we have to, left me hanging there. Do you think if we have to? Do you think if the average person has to run their own node, use SUBSTACK to encrypt their seed phrases and other stuff, that Bitcoin has failed? It should be easy to onboard. So this is kind of how I think. This is how I see everything kind of playing out here, because I do absolutely agree with you. I don't think that Bitcoin will ever be mainstream until it's very easy, but that is coming. I think that Apple is actually going to be the main catalyst to make Bitcoin very accessible for the average person. I think that pretty much every app in the future, between iOS, Google, or Android, every app on your phone is going to have a built-in Lightning wallet. And actually, I'm going to talk about one way to onboard people into Bitcoin today on the show. Am I? Yeah, I will. But this is kind of how I see it playing out. So just like today, Bitcoin's not going to like redistribute the wealth where everybody has an equal amount. That's just not reality. That's not what it was designed to do. It was designed to be a fair launch, a decentralized system, a network that nobody has the ability to create more of. And so nobody said this thing has to be exactly equal, and it's not going to be. The point is that everybody has the ability to access it. Anybody who's here today chose to be here today. Anybody who was here 10 years ago and went through all the highs and downs, they chose to be there and deserve this wealth that's coming. That's why I titled the show, You're Going to Be a Millionaire. I'm going to talk about that in a little while here. But kind of how I see it is that just like in the system today, there's a lot of people with a lot of money. That doesn't mean that everybody has it. Some people have very good security in their house where nobody can even come close to their property. Some people have 5 different houses around the world that they can go to when needed. It's going to be the exact same thing, except it's going to be Bitcoiners who have that wealth instead of the same people that do today. So not everybody's going to need to run their own node. Not everybody's going to need to have SUBSTACK and encrypted private keys. Not everybody's going to have a multi-sig setup. Most people are just going to have Bitcoin on their phone, and they'll have a savings account. They'll have a checkings account on Lightning and on chain. So it's not going to be for everybody. Not everybody's going to need to secure it like that. But for the next decade, probably anybody who's in Bitcoin, if this thing, hey, look who it is. If this thing plays out like I think it's going to, then definitely will. What? We're live right now, Arnie. We do this show every day. This is nothing new. What? You were just outside. You don't need anything. Your water's full. You've been fed. You're fine. There's no reason for you to whine. There's no reason for you to whine. I was feeling good today. Actually, after we had our proof of work first course yesterday. By the way, that was like, it really had nothing to do with like me or anything, but I got a lot of, probably that was the best received show I've done probably in a year and a half. And it wasn't just about the show. It's about the concept of it, the idea, and people working together, people holding each other accountable, and just sharing information and resources to help people get from where they are to where they want to go. So if you haven't joined that yet, I highly, highly consider, or highly recommend that you consider joining that proof of work course. You can join for $5 a month, which honestly is laughable almost based on the amount of value that you get for being in there. But you can join that. I put the link at the top of the show notes today if you want to join the proof of work. So you can go watch the first episode from yesterday, and you'll be able to watch every one going forward. Every Wednesday, we're going to do a proof of work show specifically for the community there. It's not going to be on the YouTube channel. But anyways, going back to that, I was pretty motivated today. I was feeling good. I woke up early, and everything was going good. I was going to show up here right at 8 o'clock, and I took Arnie out to go to the bathroom, and set me back by about 5 or 10 minutes. He stood on the deck, looked out for about 2 minutes, went down the stairs, looked out for another 2 minutes, and then went into the snow and just laid down. So I was like, okay, well, we tried our best today, Arnie. But Anyways, Letha's over in the Zap stream. Morning, Letha. And zapped 88 sats. Thank you. Anyways, I hope I answered that. I was kind of interrupted there, but does that make sense? Not everybody's going to need it, but anybody who's here today will need it. Everybody else is just going to use it kind of like they use cash right now. They don't need like safe in their house. They don't need private security, but there are people that do, and that'll be the Bitcoiners who are here today. Joshua, morning, Jor and Arn. Good morning, Josh, in both chats this morning. They'll be the Epstein list will be heavily redacted. Have to run it by the Mossad first. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Hey, Nick. Cheers, everyone. Ignore the price unless you're lucky enough to still have dry powder. Yeah, who has that? What's dry powder? Jay says, enjoyed proof of work yesterday. Thanks for your endeavors. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's going to be a really good thing, I think, going in the future. And I kind of did a poor job selling it on the show here, which is, not out of the normal for me. But I kind of sold it as like somebody who wants to start their own business. And I don't think that's really the case. I think it's going to be much more about figuring out what you want in life, in your life, not somebody else's or what you think, what you've been told you think you should do. Figuring out what you want to do in life, taking steps to get there every single day, every single week, and just having that direction. Regardless, it might be owning a business, it might be doing something else, but it's the process of going through that, building habits, holding each other accountable. And so, again, I sold it poorly. It's not specifically for people who want to start their own business. It's for people who want to design their own life. And this is kind of like a roadmap where we kind of go through together and figure out what we want and take steps to get there. So again, proof of work, you can join $5 a month. You can join the $21 a month for the Bitcoin related stuff. Or if you need like a one-on-one session with me, you can pay for a higher tier in there. But $5 is kind of the through the door. Tom says, can you mention some of the better passive SAT earning apps again? I'm relatively new. So this is what I'm going to do because we got a lot of stuff to get through today. But if anybody wants information on like earning sats every day, I sent out 3 or 4 emails last night. So I'm just going to start copying and pasting it to people. But it's like 6 or 7 apps you can use with referral links with some information. And so if you want a copy of that, just shoot me an email and I'll try to get it back to you in the next couple of days. Just say free sats, put that in the title, free sats. And I'll send over that information for you. Moro says, Tom, use VPN, don't comply. Bitcoin is legal in Morocco and I still try to acquire more. Attaboy. Attaboy. Look at this. Buck52,000 said, my 19-year-old daughter bought some Bitcoin via Cash App yesterday. She's just getting started. Love that. Dream thread. Tough love. I don't know if it's tough love. I don't think there's a more loved dog than Arnie in the world, truly. But when we're doing the show, he knows he can't be whining. And he learned. Since the market is about to open, what a good boy. Nick. Okay. We can't say that. We can show it, but we can't say it on the show here. Anyways, look who it is over on Zapstream. Sunshine. 420 sats. Love that. Thank you. Okay, let's get to some shit here. We're going to skip the mempool. We're going to skip the other stuff today because we got too much to talk about and I've dicked around for 20 minutes already. So, where do we begin here? Let's start with we'll start with this one. This one's an easy start, an easy entry into today. That's not what that looks like. Shit. What happened here? Of course that happens right when we're doing it. I've been using the Proton drive and I've actually been liking it quite a bit. Just in terms of like sharing things from my phone to the computer here to make it easier to get the show going in the morning, but sometimes it doesn't work as planned. Okay, let's bring this up. Saw this yesterday. I thought it was pretty interesting, and I think it's very relevant for a lot of things we're going through or we've been through before. But the tweet here was from Ron Rule. It's a pretty good name, if I do say so myself. He said the individual income tax only brings in about 2.18 trillion of the federal budget. If this administration can cut 2 trillion of waste from the budget, you can pretty much eliminate the income tax without tariffs. And kind of what I wanted to talk about there is two things. Number one, absolutely true. That's true in every government you could look to in the world. And I think especially here in Canada, I mean, we've had a pretty rough stretch if you've been paying attention at all. But that's the thing that really bothers me the most is like people see these big numbers, millions, billions, trillions. And in our mind, they're just three words. But in reality, they're like such a huge difference. The difference between a million and a billion is basically a billion. That's how insignificant a million is compared to a billion. The difference between a million and a billion is basically a billion. So when we see things like this, and when I see the government spending $2 billion or $20 billion or $50 billion in Ukraine or gender studies in Pakistan, it's like, that's a lot of money. It's obviously not going to where they say it's going to. So if people just understood like how much the government actually brings in for taxes every year versus how much they absolutely just piss away, there would be riots. I forget who said it. I think it might have been Henry Ford. He said if people knew how the system worked, there would be riots by morning. And it's true. We just kind of like are trained as kids and as young adults to like, death and taxes. You go to work, you pay taxes. It doesn't really matter. It pays for the roads, pays for the hospitals. But in reality, they could cut out the income taxes tomorrow. And as long as you had like people who were fiscally responsible running these governments, nobody would have to pay income taxes. So people work 3, 4, 5, 6 months a year just to pay for absolute bullshit. And it's not even bullshit. It's just going to the politicians who claim that it's going somewhere else. And if we just ended that, you'd have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of your life back in terms of not having to go to work for the government. It's crazy. If you just think about that, somebody who pays like a 50% tax rate, like a doctor, like a lawyer, there's a lot of people out there like this, the high earners. They basically don't get any money of their own until July every year. They spend the first 6.5 months every single year going to work for the government. Not so the government can build roads like everybody thinks. Not so the government can look after its citizens. It's so the government can enrich themselves. And it is absolutely despicable that we've let this happen for so long. So I'm still under the opinion that the US is going to be leading the way in terms of getting rid of income taxes. I've been calling that for a very long time on this channel. And I have not changed my mind on that. And the point is that it's doable. It's very doable. People are like, well, we can't ever cut taxes. Who's going to pay for the roads? But like if people understood how much money is pissed away versus how much money is brought in, then you'd understand that it's a very possible scenario. What's going on here? Okay, let's get to the next point here. Letha, are you still here? I had a question from you that I want to address quickly. Are you still in the chat? Too many windows here. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't share this to NOSTR. I got to retweet this quickly or repost it. Get some NOSTR folks in here this morning. All right. We are live. Letha's here. Okay. So Letha asked a question yesterday. She said she was transferring something from an exchange, we'll just say, Caleb and Brown. But the question she had was, I posted a video on 365 saying that you should be very careful with your receive addresses. You should never receive Bitcoin to the same address. So Letha asked a question because there's a lot of, if you're using an exchange like an over the counter where they actually, you phone and talk to a real human being there and you say, hey, I would like to take custody of some of my Bitcoin. Can you send it to me? And they say, yes, please send over your receive address. We'll send a test amount and then we'll send the full amount once you've received it. So something to keep in mind there is that I would not, in that case, you actually can't use two different addresses because the point of them sending a test transaction is to make sure that you had your address typed out properly. They don't want to send a bunch of Bitcoin to the wrong address. So they send a test transaction of a very small amount. They get you to confirm that you received it. And then they send the full amount. They just copy and paste that same address. They know it works. So in that specific case, you actually wouldn't be able to send a different address. But that's not a big deal because as soon as you receive that test transaction and full transaction from Caleb and Brown, what I would suggest is actually combining them into like a new UTXO. So you'll receive them into your Sparrow wallet. You'll have two different UTXOs, the test amount and the full amount. You can highlight those in Sparrow. You create a new transaction and both of those go into one new UTXO essentially. So in that case, that's what I would suggest doing because you don't want a test transaction as UTXO anyways. They usually just send like 2,000 sats or 5,000 sats just in case something goes wrong. So in that case, you wouldn't need to do a test transaction and you should consolidate it, the test transaction and the full amount after you receive it. So Caleb and Brown, on that note, I've actually had quite a few people in the last little while reaching out. I'm going to have Jim, his name is actually from Caleb and Brown, on the show in the very near future, just to talk about, the services they provide, go into a couple different other things about how over the counters work. It's going to be an interesting chat, I think, with him. But Caleb and Brown, I would highly suggest them for anybody who's like sending large amounts. If you're somebody who's somewhat new to Bitcoin and you like kind of get it, you understand that nothing else really has value outside of Bitcoin, but you don't really know what you're doing yet in terms of your security, like setting up a wallet, your private keys. That's where I would use somebody like Caleb and Brown. Because again, you get to talk to a real human being there. So if you're somewhat new to Bitcoin, that's like your dream. So you call up Caleb and Brown, you say, I want to buy $10,000 worth of Bitcoin. They send you the wire or the transfer information. You fill it out, you send the money, they confirm they receive it. And at that point, they can actually just hold on to your Bitcoin for a while. Until you get your own security figured out, they can just hold on to your Bitcoin. And within Bitcoin, probably the most important thing to consider when you're looking at different exchanges and over the counters is like, what's their track record? How long have they been there? And Caleb and Brown, from what I understand, is probably the longest running exchange that exists. I think they're either a decade or more old. So they're very trustworthy. They actually don't hold the Bitcoin themselves. They use a third-party custodian called Fireblocks. And so your Bitcoin is going to be very, very safe there. So probably the safest place it could be, especially if you're a new Bitcoiner and you don't know, again, what you're doing. This is kind of a good holding spot for you in the meantime. So you let Caleb and Brown or Fireblocks hold on to your Bitcoin for a while. And then when you're ready, you just call up your advisor and say, hey, I got my security set up. I got my wallet good to go. Please send me my Bitcoin. You can send it all. You can keep half. They can keep half until you kind of get a little bit more comfortable and familiar with it. But that's kind of what I would say there. So that's for anybody who's looking for a larger amount. I think the minimum is like $1,000 only, but really good way to do it. So I hope that helps, Letha. I hope that answers your question. Holy, we got lots. I missed a lot here during that. Oops. Caden says, I went all in on Bitcoin, so I have no cash to buy this dip. I invest my paycheck right away, then sell at the end of the month to pay my credit card. Should I keep this up or DCA throughout the month? I mean, one thing you could do, this is kind of my strategy. So it's not, I don't know if it's the right answer or not, but this is what I do. So it's the only thing I can kind of comment on. But I have a recurring buy set up with Bitcoin Well. So I like the recurring buy because you don't have to think about it at all. You don't have to plan it. You don't have to worry about it. You'll never miss it. You just set up a recurring buy. That could be $20 a week. That could be $100 a week. Could be whatever. And that's kind of like your DCA. That's your recurring buy. You don't have to think about it. So then you kind of have, if you have excess income, if you have a profit every month, if you're making more than you spend, then you could dump it into Bitcoin. You could do it at the end of the month. You could wait for like a crash like we had a couple days ago. But make sure you kind of have both running in sync. That's what I would say. So you make sure you have your DCA, your recurring buy, but then if you want to, you can keep a smaller amount. And then when it's a big red day, then you can buy. You're going to get more sats that way. So it's a little more work, I think, but I would say that it's worth it. What's going on back there? Hey. Hi, buddy. What are you doing? Somebody said I was giving you tough love. Is that true? Do I give you tough love or too much love? You want to hang out for a bit? You want to hang out? Okay, you don't need to bite my arm. That's what happens when you give him love. He gives tough love back. He bites your arm. Okay, anyways, morning. Mika, good to see you in the chat this morning. All right, sorry, Arnie. I can't do both here. Retro Beaver says, good morning, my fellow Bitcoin OGs. Good morning, Retro Beaver. 1 sat equals $1. That's the way to be. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. Maybe we'll talk about that right now. What you doing back there? What a crazy show today here. Okay. I don't know what he's doing back there. Anyways, freaking me out, Arnie. Freaking me out, man. Okay, let's watch this video and we'll talk about being a millionaire. So I titled the show, and this is actually kind of perfect timing. Arnie's here too. But anyways, I titled the show today, You're Going to Be a Millionaire. And I really want that to sink in with people right now. And my point is that I'm not asking how much Bitcoin you have or saying that at this point you're going to be a millionaire. I think that if you're in Bitcoin right now, in any amount, with any allocation to Bitcoin, you're going to be a millionaire one day. And I think it's very important to differentiate a millionaire and somebody with $1 million worth of purchasing power. Because I would argue that there's 63 million millionaires in the world right now. There's probably 2 million Bitcoin available. So we're going to see a shift from the people who have wealth in the existing system to the Bitcoiners who have wealth in the new system. But the point is that even if you're a millionaire today, if you had $1 million in the bank today, that $1 million doesn't go anywhere near as far as it did 5 years ago. It might even go half of what it did. So I had a new term here. What did I call it? A minnow. Minnow, M-I-N-O. Millionaire in name only. That's pretty much what millionaires are right now. Because yes, they have $1 million, but that $1 million only buys about $500,000 worth of stuff. And that's kind of the only thing that you need to really worry about is how much does it buy you? Because whether you're talking about dollars or Bitcoin, nobody wants dollars and nobody wants Bitcoin. You hold that with the idea of buying something in the future. So you add value to the world, you get that currency, dollars or Bitcoin in return. And you don't want that. That's not the end goal. You don't want to own Bitcoin. You want to own something else. Bitcoin's the vehicle that allows you to do that. So I think that anybody who owns Bitcoin today with a long enough time horizon is going to be a millionaire. And let's say you're somebody out there who has one whole Bitcoin. And I'm going to show the clip here. And I want you to think about that. If you have one Bitcoin and things play out how I expect them to, and also how American HODL expects them to, then you're going to be a millionaire. which is kind of crazy to think about. If you have one Bitcoin and things play out this year like I expect and he expects, you're going to be a millionaire, which is crazy because when you're growing up, even today, like you probably know the people in your life who are millionaires. It's kind of like what people fantasize about when you're a kid is being a millionaire. And I think it's going to be hard for a lot of Bitcoiners to really comprehend the fact that, you know, this newfound wealth has made them a millionaire. So it's kind of crazy. And you have to start preparing yourself for that mentally and for that physically in terms of your Bitcoin security. You have to understand what you're holding here. So let's take a look at this. Let's watch this video and see what American HODL says, because him and I think very alike. I think that if American HODL and I ever got together for a beer or two, I think that we would have a pretty good time. So here's American HODL talking about his predictions for this year.
Stars are starting to align, and they're gonna, like, they're probably accumulating it as we speak right now, and then they're gonna make an announcement at some point. That would be my guess. I have no insight. Obviously, I have no idea if they are. They should do it, right? They have a crappy, declining, dying business, and they have a lot of cash. So what do? Like MicroStrategy, you buy Bitcoin and you rejigger your business. So they have the possibility to become like another strategy if they play it right.
I saw something on Twitter the other day that the amount of MicroStrategy copycats in no.
Whoops, that was the wrong spot. Okay, let me go back here. It just opened up, I guess, where I was left off watching. But
back in the 70s.
But
I think that I was thinking we'd have it like kind of creep into the 3s and then up to sort of 3.5 before the year ends this year. It's looking more like now that inflation is going to start declining, like it started in February, which I had anticipated. And I think we're going to see it kind of creep lower and lower. And if it does that, if we can get some relatively weak economic surprises, that can cause the Federal Reserve to get on board with doing more kind of quantitative easing, keeping interest rates lower instead of raising interest rates because of higher inflation. That's also very good for risk assets, and it's fantastic for Bitcoin. So, man, I'm just optimistic. So I don't think we get a 20x from here, but I think we have a very good year in 2025.
Let me give you a wildly optimistic scenario here, because like I might be more optimistic than Jeff, and I think that, you know, a 10x is not off the table and within the year. And the reason why I believe that is because we're sort of at this stage in Bitcoin's adoption where we're really playing with fire. Like we're cooking with gas now. Like nation, you know, America, the most powerful nation state on earth, is talking about doing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So if we get that, I think $1 million is very possible, and certainly north of $500,000. Now, if we don't get that, then that's a different story, and you know, it might be a little bit more muted in terms of what we've come to expect. But if you get an SBR, that's the starting gun on the global SAT race, and basically every nation state on earth has to have their piece of the pie. And who is their piece of the pie being held by? A bunch of autistic retards on the internet. So they got to buy it from you, man. You know what I mean? And like, they're going to have to bid that up for a higher price so that you're willing to part with it, because you know, there's a lot of crazy psychopath hodlers who've just been out here hodling for a long time. And I think, you know, something like greater than 70% of total Bitcoin supply is held by people with between 1 Bitcoin and 10,000 Bitcoin, right? And if you think about who those people are, that's us. Those are the people that listen to live streams like this, that hang out on Bitcoin Twitter, that are on Bitcoin Clubhouse, that are, you know, MSTR degen. Like those are the guys, right? Those are the guys who have the coins. And so the things that those people believe, you know, guys and girls, the things that they believe ends up affecting how much Bitcoin is saleable on the market at any given time, which, you know, price comes from the margin. And so that affects price, right? And so like, not only do hodlers set the floor, but they also, you know, in no small way, I think, dictate the ceiling. Like, so what prices you are willing to accept as a OG hodler, don't sell yourself short. Like, you have a lot of power over the trajectory of this thing. You know, if we all simply didn't sell our Bitcoin, the price would be gajillions of dollars tomorrow, you know, but some of you are weak, you know, and you need to, like, you know, buy stuff. I don't know what you're buying, but I'm just kidding. I sell a little too. I like live off of it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, lots of people need to learn from their mistakes, and I did too, right? Like I didn't take the advice of the smart people when I was first year. I was a degen trader.
Man, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? I feel like I've heard that somewhere before, that 70% of the Bitcoin is owned by us, and we're going to be the ones who get to decide what they pay for it. Because there's only so much Bitcoin available. And if they want Bitcoin, they're going to have to get it from us. And the beautiful thing about it is, like, if you think about the people that he was talking about there, the Bitcoiners, the people who are here now, when he says OG Bitcoiners, I don't think of somebody who's been here like 10 years ago. There's not many people left that were. I think the OG Bitcoiners are the people who are here today, the people who are watching this stream, in this chat, on NOSTR. That's the OG Bitcoiners, and that's what you have to think of yourself as. And so the people, the OG Bitcoiners right now, they think differently than other people. They don't have any sort of desire to buy new sneakers or buy a new Lamborghini or buy whatever. If you've been here for a while, you've sacrificed a lot in your life, and you don't need that stuff to make you happy. You've kind of come to the understanding and realization that it's not money that really makes a person happy. And so as this shift happens, where we start having countries and states and big corporations and the rest of the population and AI, as all of these people are wanting Bitcoin, that's going to have to come from us. They can't print Bitcoin. And so as a OG Bitcoiner, think to yourself, like, how much would it take for you to part with 100% of your stack? For me, it's probably in the hundreds of millions, if not more. And the reason I say that is because I know what this thing's worth, and I don't even know what I would do with $100 million. I'd want to buy more Bitcoin. Like, what would I do with $100 million? So then you kind of drill down a little bit and you say, okay, well, if that's kind of what I would take for 100%, what would I take for like 5% of my stack? And if they started getting 5% of everybody's stack, that's going to be, a sizable shift of power here of Bitcoin, from the 70% to the 30%, the good guys to the bad guys. And so you say, okay, 5%, maybe I'll pay off my debt, which, if you ask me, isn't a great idea. Selling your Bitcoin to pay off debt. Maybe you buy a new truck. Maybe you buy a cabin somewhere. But the point is that you're not going to ever really need to part with your whole stack. So they're going to have to just keep running the price up and up and up. And the beauty about that is that the higher they run up that price, you think about the things that you want that you would buy if the price did run up, you're going to have to sell less of your Bitcoin. So the longer you wait, the higher they run up the price, and the less of your Bitcoin that you're going to have to part with to get the things that you want. It's a beautiful thing. And so that's why I say, if you are somebody who's holding Bitcoin right now, you are going to be a millionaire one day with a long enough time frame. But it's going to be up to us to kind of push that forward. It's up to us. So I want you to start thinking about that in terms of, like, you're going to be a millionaire. You need to start thinking about that in your mind. You have to start preparing for that in your life. You have to start putting things in place so if something were to happen to you, your family gets that wealth that you're thinking about. And there's good ways to do it. It's not something that happens overnight, but it's something that takes time for you to implement into your life and build out your security. So on that note, I mean, this isn't going to turn into an ad or anything, but if you do need help with that, if you're thinking like, holy shit, I have a significant amount of Bitcoin, I believe what he's saying, this is going to be worth a lot in the future, and I'm not anywhere near prepared for that right now. Even if that were to happen in 5 years, I wouldn't be prepared right now. So I would just say, like, set up a call. I have a website, a link, email. Just get a hold of me. We can set up a call. I do have a value for value option now where there's no set rate. You can just book like a 30-minute call. You can run things by me, ask questions, get a second opinion on things, and then you can pay me whatever you think it was worth to you. I think that's the right way to do it. So that's what I'm doing. And that's going to be my focus here for the next couple of years, is helping people secure what they're holding here, because I know what it's worth, and I think that you know what it's worth. So I don't know. It's crazy. It's not too far off, but at the same time, like, you know, it's coming fast. I meant to say it seems like it's a long way out, but things happen fast. Things move fast. Anyways, we got Ostrich over in the NOSTR chat. Good morning, Ostrich. Josh says, I like how this show just flows the way it needs to. It's a good way to look at it. On my end, I'm just running a crane, and in the background, I'm listening. All topics you discuss resonate with me. Doing a great job. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate the support every day, my friend. Josh says, I made that mistake early in my Bitcoin journey, receiving to my cold wallet the same address from the exchange. I've learned, thanks to the show, actually, about taking privacy more seriously. Well, that's good. Duncan says, why is it not a good idea to pay off debt? That's a good question. So Duncan says, why is it not a good idea to pay off debt? And the reason I said that is because, I mean, credit card debt is different. If you're carrying credit card debt and Bitcoin, that should never be the situation. You should sell your Bitcoin today to pay off your credit card, because your credit card has 25% interest rate compounding. Credit cards are what kill people. But for your mortgage or for like a longer term line of credit, you have to look at it like this. If you're making your interest payments every month, let's say you have a mortgage, let's say your house is worth $500,000, your mortgage is worth $250,000. So you owe $250, you have $250 worth of equity in your house. And people might think, well, I got a couple Bitcoin here. I might as well just sell my Bitcoin, pay off my mortgage, because that's what people tell me to do. They'd say, become debt free. But I think that's so stupid, because if you look at your interest rate on your mortgage, it's probably like 4, 5, 6% max. So that's what you're paying every year. That's your expense, 6%. And you look at Bitcoin up to today, even with the last couple shitty years we've had in Bitcoin, I guess we're double from this time last year, but overall, a 60% compound annual growth rate on average for the last 10 years in Bitcoin. And I think it's really going to ramp up in the next couple of years here in the next decade. So you look at the 5% that you're paying versus the 60% that you're making on your Bitcoin. That's a big spread. If it was something like 10% mortgage and 15% Bitcoin, then it's a little bit different there. But we're talking like paying 5% and making 60% by just holding Bitcoin. So that's why I don't think it's ever a good idea to pay off your mortgage, sell your Bitcoin and pay off your mortgage. If anything, you should be refinancing your mortgage and buying Bitcoin with that because of that spread. And will that always be the case forever? No. But it is today. And that's the only thing that matters. So that's why I say the whole, like, I don't know, even going back to like credit cards, that's different. Credit cards are different. But like a long-term mortgage, if you can get like a 10% loan on something at like 5 or 6%, like there's a pretty good chance you're going to be you're going to win that one. Oh, I'm way behind here. I'm way behind. Okay, let's see what we got here. Good morning, Brandon. Good to see you, my friend. Seems that the game of all these 3 or 4 letter agencies pretend they're bigger than they are. Yes. Yes. It's all an illusion. You have to understand that. The entire system is an illusion. The money, the power, everything involved around that is just a complete fucking illusion. Head to toe. Start there. Everything you've been taught in your life was a lie. Start there. I know it's hard. And the longer you've been alive, the harder it is for you to comprehend that. But it is the truth. Literally everything we've been told about history, about our health, about money is a lie. And if you start there, then you can start making sense of things on your own. But it takes a lot to get to that point. Hey, Rick, good morning. Good morning. U.S. employment equals Twitter user count, 90% bots. You're not wrong. Buck52 says, I got freaked out the other day because it took over an hour for my Bitcoin to hit my wallet from a major exchange. Usually it takes 10 minutes. So that happens. And I think one thing that people have to understand here is that whenever you're moving it from an exchange, regardless of what exchange it is, minor, major, that's an on-chain transaction. And so that exchange, they'll set a fee on that transaction. Sometimes you get to set it, but sometimes they set it. And there are certain circumstances, I'm sure this will ramp up as Bitcoin adoption grows, where the exchange sends that Bitcoin, they set a fee based on what they expect to happen, but something different happens. So in that case, probably what happens is, let's say that the fees were like 5, 6, 7 sats per VByte for the last couple hours. So the major exchange said, well, we'll set this at 7 or 8 sats per VByte, and it should be good. Based on the last couple hours, that's kind of what the mempool is looking like right now. But then something happens where it gets really busy. Who knows what could happen? Then the fees go up to like 10, 11, 12 sats per VByte. And your transaction just still sits there until the mempool clears a little bit. So there's never, when Bitcoin's moving from a major exchange to your wallet, it's never like going to be the exact same time every time. Another situation, just to take this one step further to prove what I'm saying here. Let's say that in that same scenario where the fees were like 5, 6, 7 sats per VByte, and you were moving it from Bitcoin Well, and they're like, okay, 5, 6, 7, 8, those are the fees. We're going to set this at like 20 sats. Our policy is to like double the normal fee to make sure it gets there in a certain amount of time. Even if they did that, even if they set it from a very high priority, it might take the Bitcoin network like 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes to hit the next block. We've seen that before, where even though it's supposed to be every 10 minutes on average, there's times where there's not a block that's found for like an hour. So that's why that would happen. It's maybe the fees ran away from them, or it took the miners a very long time to find the next block. But that's why it would take maybe an hour versus 10 minutes like usual. So it's a scary time if you don't really understand what's happening there on layer one, but that's the reality of it there. So anyways, Mahit, seems like Ember and ZBD give more sats than the other. Yes, those are my two favorite ones, I think, ZBD and Ember. And I kind of laughed off Ember for a while, so I feel really bad about that because I missed out on a lot of sats, free sats. All right. Jay says 1,100 sats per dollar buy this morning. DCA was a nice gift. Yeah, there you go. Mine was DCA yesterday. I didn't even realize it, but yeah, I got more sats than I would have otherwise as well. This podcast, yeah, that was with, I love American Hodl. He's one of my favorite guys in Bitcoin. He's got really good takes that I agree with, and he's very down-to-earth guy. Brennan says, I think marriage is a better strategy than just dating it. Bitcoin, yes, true. Jet says, I hodl Bitcoin and want value in order to secure my freedom. Unfortunately, the millionaires that I've known in my life have generally been poor examples in the way they treat people and have no time. Yeah, you can be the change that you want to see in the world. That's the thing I'm most excited about, honestly, is, going back to the fact that everybody here watching this today, assuming you do things properly, assuming you have the conviction and the security for your Bitcoin, you're going to be a millionaire, and you're going to have a lot of power and influence in the future. And that's exciting to me because the whole reason I got into Bitcoin is because of Bitcoiners. I could sense why they're here and what they are doing. So imagine a world that's, where the influential people are Bitcoiners. It's a beautiful thing. Jay says, we don't get the SBR though, and we really don't. We really need to just let that narrative die. We do not need an SBR. Nation states do. That is true. We set the floor, exactly. And we also set the ceiling, as Hodl said there. We are the 1%, absolutely. absolutely. Sorry, I'm just trying to get through all these. I got a couple more things to talk about here. I'm trying to keep these shows on time. By the way, you know, some days, and I'm sure as the Bitcoin ramps up here, like this chat's going to be pretty full. So one thing I would say, like, I'm happy to do it today, but in the future here, as this kind of picks up, you're probably going to have to either send a super chat or a zap to get your question on here for sure. But just to kind of give you a heads up here for the future, we're good today, but in the future, that's kind of what I'm expecting to happen. By the way, speaking of that, oh, Letha, I was wondering where that came from, but Letha zapped 9,999 sats, saying thanks for your help, Jor. That's how it's done. Letha is she gets it. We'll say that. Letha gets it. So thank you, Letha. I'm happy to help, and hopefully that was a good answer for you. And also Duncan zapped 88 sats. Thanks for explaining, Jor. And Josh, look at this. Just deleted X. Fuck it. I'm 100% NOSTR now. That is good stuff, my friend. I love that. I love that. For me, I have to be on Twitter a little bit still. I would say I'm like 95% NOSTR, 5% Twitter, but it is freeing. Joining NOSTR, going NOSTR only is very similar to like selling all of your altcoins and just focusing on Bitcoin. Anyways, Nick says, what are your recommended methods to transfer Bitcoin to a cold wallet in a private way? I mean, the best thing that you could do there would be to have like a cold card, have Sparrow, have your own Bitcoin node. Like if you have a Start9 and you connect your Sparrow wallet to your node, so that way it's not traveling through a public node. That's the most private way to do it. Depending on how much you're sending, I don't think that that's a huge, you know, it's not something to obsess over. If you're somebody who has a lot of Bitcoin, you're moving it around and you want to be private about that, then absolutely. If you got a lot of Bitcoin and you're concerned with your privacy, I would honestly say that it's worth selling some of your Bitcoin to increase your privacy. For real. I really think that people should use like the 5% rule in terms of their privacy and security for their stack. So if you had one full Bitcoin, I would recommend that you spend at least $5,000 on your privacy and your security. Kind of minimum. Not just like that's the maximum you should spend, but that's the minimum that you should be putting into securing your Bitcoin, doing it properly, and making it private. And I think the Start9 is about $1,200 of that. So if you allocate $5,000, you get maybe a multi-sig, you get your Start9 running, and then that's a pretty good start. And then let's say your Bitcoin goes to $1 million from 100,000, then you have to increase it even more. So it's never static. This is always going to be evolving. But yeah, if you're interested in getting a Start9, I think you can use the code. I know. You can use the code 88 sats at checkout, and that's going to get you about $50 or $60 off your purchase. So I think it's just start9.com. Start9 is the best. I absolutely love my Start9. I really regret taking so long to get it, but yeah, it's just start9.com. And then the store, and it looks like the servers are back in stock, which is great. So I use my server to obviously run my own Bitcoin node, but also you can use it for some other sneaky things like storing passwords. You got to be pretty careful with it, but storing your passwords, one spot. You can also buy non-KYC Bitcoin if you know what you're doing on there with the Start9 and a whole slew of other things. But this is the one that I have, the Pure. So it's a little bit more money. It's the newer version, but yeah, you can pay in Bitcoin. And if you use the code 88 sats, you get about $50 off your purchase there. So I highly recommend the Start9. It's been one of my favorite purchases in the last couple of years. So that's what I would say in terms of increasing your privacy. You connect it to your own node versus a public node. All right, where were we here? 2.5, there, or 2.25. That's what you want. That's what you're looking for. Hey, Roger. Good morning, Roger. Good to see you in the chat this morning. Need to set up a call with you here soon, Roger. Roger that. Classic Way says, tell us about your QR code in the corner of in the guy. Also, do you think everyone should just have a separate address for a Bitcoin wallet for donations and payments? Like here, send me 1,000 sats, like Jimbo and Moon. So this QR code, and actually that's how Letha zapped the show today. You got a couple of different options. So if you're watching the show on YouTube, you can just scan this code right here, and that's for Arnie. So I don't know if you saw that white wolf that lives in this house, but he is. I have a wallet for him, and it's kind of like his insurance. If he doesn't need the insurance, it'll go to other rescue dogs or good use. But that's kind of what it's used for. So if you want to send in some sats to Arnie, you can just scan that code and send in 1 sat, 2 sats, or 990, 9.9 thousand sats as Letha did. But I mean, the nice thing for donations and payments on Lightning is that it's not like an on-chain address. Lightning isn't the most private, but you can convert that into Liquid. You can convert it into eCash and then swap it back onto layer 1, and then you're pretty much home free. So if you know what you're doing, Bitcoin is very, very private. Dan says, why is everyone calling everyone retards, Jor? I don't know. I honestly think that it's just like, it kind of reminds me of like, I'm sure everybody knows somebody in high school where they like had really strict parents and they weren't allowed to drink. They weren't allowed to go out to parties. They weren't allowed to do anything. And then as soon as they graduate high school, they just completely go off the rails because they've kind of been held back for so long. They missed out on so much. When they finally are able to, they just go crazy. And I think that that's kind of what's happening with this kind of stuff, is that because it's been kind of like, with the woke culture and the cancel culture, and people feel like they couldn't really express themselves the way they wanted to. And it was a crazy time. I don't think that we should be on either side. I don't think we should be too far this way or too far that way. I think that there's a time and a place for everything, and there's context, and people should be able to express themselves however they want to, and they should never have to worry about being punished for that. So that's kind of what's happening right now. I think we lived through 4 years of absolute fucking insanity in terms of like what you can talk about, what you can discuss, what you can say. And now with Trump back in office, I feel like everybody kind of has a lift off their shoulders, and they're just kind of going crazy with it. That's not the approach that I take myself, especially on the internet, but I don't know. It's up to them. Freedom of speech. As long as you're not being a dick and harming people, then I think you should be able to do and say whatever you want. Island Walker, leaving so I can go work and buy more sats. Nice work. It's a good plan for today. Nick says, NOSTR is my next goal. I have my keys, but still need to learn. That's very easy. Just start posting on there. You don't need to learn anything. There's some things to be aware of, but you can kind of learn as you go. There's no, no minimums or requirements. The different, okay, is this Eric's? No, Epic Swell. I thought that said Eric Swalwell. That dipshit. I think he's still, somehow, he's still in government after sleeping with the Chinese spy. That's the world that we've come from here, folks. Josh says, what about running your own relay for NOSTR with the Start 9? That'll be my next to-do item. Yeah, that's something we're going to have for the community here, is a NOSTR relay. So we'll get that set up. Just got to give it some time. All right. Anyways, Epic Swell. Here's the question. So the difficulty adjustment is based on the average time to mine a block over the previous 2 weeks and adjusts accordingly to keep it close to 10 minutes. Thank you. Good insight. Will Zap on NOSTR. Yeah, that's something you got to keep in mind there. Is that's the whole reason for the difficulty adjustment, is it kind of self-regulates the Bitcoin network. Because if you think about it, basically what's happening every 10 minutes is there's all these miners around the world. They're trying to guess the equation. And so when you plug in a miner, basically all it's doing is just spitting out a whole bunch of guesses. And one of those miners, and the more computing power you have into that, the more guesses it makes. So the higher your odds are to make to hit the block reward. So when there's more power, there's more guesses, which means the block reward is solved quicker than 10 minutes. So if there's more guesses, that means that every 2 weeks it's kind of self-regulated there. If the network's running too hot, if there's too many people guessing, I know it sounds kind of silly, but it makes a lot of sense when you really understand it. But that's when the difficulty adjustment cranks up. So then it makes it harder, which makes the blocks come in slower, and it self-regulates there. And on the flip side, if there's less power, if there's less guesses, then it needs to be cranked down. That means they're taking too long to find the next block. So the difficulty adjustment basically self-regulates the Bitcoin network to make sure that the blocks are coming in every 10 minutes. And the reason what you want them to be every 10 minutes is that so there can be consensus in the network. Everybody can agree. If blocks are coming in every 10 seconds and things get out of whack, you're screwed. And that's what's happened on Solana. That's what's happened on Cardano. Because the blocks come in so fast, the network can't come into consensus. And so when things get out of whack, then it just goes off the rails. And that's when the network's shut down, because then they have to go back and see where the problem was, and then they fix it. So that's why it's every 10 minutes, is so that the network can be in consensus and agree with each other. Hope that makes sense. Andrew says, just practice setting up a multi-sig. Do you think 3 of 5 is overkill? Most on mempool are 2 of 3. Yeah, everybody's different. I don't think that there's a right answer for that. So it's kind of up to you. If you got 5 people in your life that you can trust, then go for it. What's the best way to secure 1 million sats? That's a really good question. I see somebody zapped 88 sats to Arnie's wallet, so thank you for that, whoever that was. What's the best way to secure 1 million sats? That'd be 10 million sats, sorry. So this is kind of how I think about this. The best way to secure 10 million sats. So if you go back to the threshold, the rule that I said before, which is 5% of your stack, you should put into your security. So in this case, 10 million sats would be $10,000. So you should have about $500 worth of security there. So in that case, I think you should be looking at like a hardware wallet. You can get a cold card, you can get a steel plate, you can have somebody help you with that for an hour for about $500. So that's your 10,000. 5% of that is $500. That's kind of perfect for 10 million sats. And that's why I like that rule, because if you only had 1 million sats, that would be like $50. Because 1 million sats is about $1,000, which would be $50. So in that case, when you got 1 million sats, it's not really worth investing in security. That's when you just kind of buy more sats. But so then 10 million sats would kind of be, in my opinion, the minimum today for like investing in a hardware device. All right, what do we got for time here? I'm gonna have to go here right away. Duncan says, what about Bitcoin loans to pay credit card debt instead of selling? Yeah, I could see that. That makes sense to me. You should never be carrying credit card debt though. If you have Bitcoin, you should sell that Bitcoin yesterday and pay off your credit cards. I wanted to talk about Jack. What do we have for time here? We can do it. Let's talk about Jack. Hold on, I'll get through the last couple comments here, get caught up, and then we'll move on. Jet says, how many cold wallets would you recommend using? I don't like the idea of keeping it all in just one. Yeah, I agree. I think that if you got more than 10 million sats, but just use that threshold. If you have 10 million sats, you get one hardware wallet. If you get 20 million sats, maybe you get 2 hardware wallets. If you get 50, you get a multi-sig. You get somebody to help you set it up. You got 1 Bitcoin, you get multi-sig, different wallets, different devices. Maybe you're using super backed at that point. It's just kind of always evolving based on how much your Bitcoin you have and how much that Bitcoin's worth. Jay says, any chance they bring those costs down? I'm a cheap bastard. For the start nines, I doubt it. I doubt it. I think between hardware devices and start nine servers, I think that as they become more mainstream and demand goes up, they're going to be able to charge more for it. And when you're thinking about ordering like a hardware device or a start nine server, I would really recommend, if you have the ability to do it, like don't go into credit card debt, don't sell your Bitcoin for it. But I would order those as soon as you can. Like don't wait for the time to come where you need them and you have the time to set them up. I would order them sooner than later because you never know what's going to happen. Demand goes up, they might run out of supply, they might crank up the prices, they might start getting held up at the borders. Who knows? We're not at that point yet, but I'm guessing we're going to be one day. So I would just be proactive with it, whether you're looking at like a cold card or a start nine or a Jade or whatever. Just look after it. Do it sooner than later. If you have the financial means to do it, don't procrastinate with it because you're just going to have regrets in the future. Again, even if you don't set it up this month or this year, even just have it in your possession, get it across the border, get it into your own possession. And the other thing too there is that as Bitcoin ramps up here, as we go through this bull run, do you think there's going to be more or less funny business happening with devices and servers and stuff like that? Once like postal workers know what's being shipped, once border agents know what's coming across the border, they're going to start finding ways to get into these devices. We're not there yet, but I really believe that we're going to be. And you don't want to be the first one on the news to have their hardware device was messed with at Best Buy or at the border and you lost all your Bitcoin. It hasn't happened yet, but it's absolutely going to come. So anyways, if you're looking for any of that, again, I'm not trying to spread fear here. I'm just trying to be realistic. And sometimes people need to tell you this stuff. So that's what I would say on that. Josh said a Jade and then realized that YouTube people can't see his comments. I don't even know what you're talking about there, Josh, for a Jade. Jay says, I'm running an Umbral and a Start 9 and 10 out of 10 recommend the Start 9 over the Umbral. That's what I've heard too. And I love my Start 9. If I can figure it out, then absolutely anybody watching this can. El Solo Lobo Arnie. What the heck does that mean? I don't know. Oh, look at that. Somebody zapped 88 sats from ZBD. Wow. I didn't even know you could do that. That's kind of cool. I had no idea you could do that. Somebody sent 88 sats to Arnie's wallet from ZBD. Cool. Max says, hi, big fan of your content. Do you have any advice for people looking to work in Bitcoin? Some of us want to go beyond investing or hobby dabbling. Yeah, Max, the thing I would say, this relates to you and anybody watching this show today. Join proof of work. That's kind of the focus. You know, it might not be like help you find a job in Bitcoin, but it'll help you set your life up in a way where you can add value to the world and you can be fairly compensated for that either through dollars or Bitcoin. And you can convert that into Bitcoin and you compound your habits, you compound your time and your sats. And that's the whole focus there is people working for themselves. And I actually have a couple really exciting opportunities coming up in terms of earning money. off the start, it'll be paid in dollars that you can convert in Bitcoin, but in a couple months, it's going to be paid in Bitcoin. And it's a really, really solid opportunity. I've talked a little bit about it on the channel here. Maybe it was a private show, but it's something that's going to be coming down the pipe. And so if, I'm going to start with the community first. It'll spill onto YouTube eventually, but consider joining the proof of work course. We do it every Wednesday. Started yesterday. You can watch the first show, is an hour and a half. And if nothing else, it'll give you some ideas. And to me, that's worth way more than $5 per month. So even if you don't end up working with me on anything, even if you don't end up getting a job in Bitcoin, it's going to hold you accountable. It's going to help you build better habits. And it's going to help you understand, I guess, the value of this world that we're moving into and what you can do about it, how you can set yourself up for it. So yeah, consider joining that if you haven't yet. Oh, there's been we got another 88 sats and another 88 sats. Somebody said go on Zap crazy. That was like over on Zapstream the other day where we figured out that it was on Fountain and there was like 10 sats, 10 sats, 10 sats, 10 sats. But yeah, anyways, going backside. So you can join for $5 a month. And the last thing I would say is just going to give you, it'll get you thinking differently. It'll help spark some creativity inside of your brain. And it might lead to something. And I didn't really want to do this, but I think it's a good chance or a good spot to do it right now. This is what I would say to somebody. Join Proof of Work. You can join, top of the show notes, it says join Proof of Work. You go to the Patreon. You can choose for $5 a month. You join Living the Future, $5 a month. And here's my guarantee, and you can save this. You can screenshot this. You can screen record it, whatever you want to do. I don't care. Record this video. I'm going to tell you that you take this course for 6 months. You show up every Wednesday. If you're not in a better spot in your life than you were today, in 6 months from now, I will send back 100% of your $5 a month. So what would that be? $30? I'll even send it to you in Bitcoin. So if you sign up, you show up every Wednesday, and in 6 months from now, you're not in a much better spot than you were today, just shoot me an email and say, Jor, your Proof of Work course was a joke. It was a waste of money. I will 100% send you the money back in Bitcoin. If I was trying to rip people off, I would charge much more than $5 a month for this. It's about growing the community here. It's about strengthening each other. It's about pushing Bitcoin ahead and getting people to think differently than the world that we come from, for the world we're going to. So that's what I would say to Max, to anybody out there. That is my guarantee. If you take that course and in 6 months you're not in a better spot in your life, subjective measurement there, of course, but I will send back 100% of your fees in Bitcoin. Screen record that, and I'd be happy. Well, I wouldn't be happy to do it, but that's my guarantee for people. And by the way, the last thing I would say to that is we actually have a new Signal forum, I called it, where we're going to share like the notes from the show, actionable items, any links and resources that I come across that would be useful for people in that mindset. And I think there's already like 20 people who have joined that from yesterday. So the people are excited. The people are looking for it. And the nice thing is we're actually going to be, we're going to kind of partner up in 2 or 3s and hold each other accountable there. That was when I think back on the times I've had in my life that were successful, I always had some accountability there. And this show has been a big accountability for me. That's what has helped me kind of get off my ass a little bit here. Is I woke up earlier and I had everybody here to hold me accountable. That's the difference there. So every time I've had success in my life, I've always had somebody or some people holding me accountable to that. So we're going to also do that. We're going to have some accountability aspects in it. If you want to, obviously it's all voluntary in there, but if you want to, LG, cheers from Argentina. Cheers. Bren says, Tards is a term of endearment. You're a freak of nature for being here. That's true. That's true. Hey, Adam, good morning. 88 people here watching on. Yeah, I was going to get to this. Jack Dorsey is Satoshi. That's the new theory floating around. Hey, Bird Meta, good morning. I like simplicity, one hardware wallet. Yes, that's a good point too. And Jay's got 15 kicking around. Jay, you should sell some of your hardware wallets to buy a server. Pretty simple. I don't know how many buyers you'd have for used hardware wallets, but there's got to be some fools out there. All right. Yeah, I agree with this, Jason. If he rolls around the Satoshi shirt and he is Satoshi, that is hilarious. I wanted to talk about that today, but we don't have the time. We don't have the time. I got to go. Bitcoin Beacon, good morning. Oh, you know what we'll do before we hit the road here? We'll give away some Bitcoin. Another really good way to get free Bitcoin is to show up for the daily Bitcoin journey every day. Because courtesy of Bitcoin Well, we get free sats for the community here. Hey, Pipeline, good morning. Cleaning machine, I'm in on the proof of work. Yeah, that was a good show. So make sure you could actually join today, pay $5, get your membership, show up next week, but you'll also get the recorded version of yesterday's show. So if you got an hour and a half and you're feeling crazy today, you could get going with it today. Okay, so let's go to the QR code here. All right. Get your phones out. Sorry, return to nature. I missed this. 3 cold cards good for a multi-sig? Yeah, I would say so. The only issue with that is if something were to happen with cold card and we find out that the keys that were derived from those cold cards were faulty, then you're screwed. So might not be your best bet. The odds of that are very low, but they're not zero. But myself, I love cold cards. So that's what I would say on that. Okay, what the heck am I doing here? Let's give away some Bitcoin. So get your phone out, get your Lightning wallet out. While it's open, make sure you send a zap to Arnie's wallet. Scan the screen and send some sats to Arnie. But anyways, let's give away some Bitcoin here. So somebody's going to win at least 210 sats. Are we ready? Set, go. $210. Well, we were on a cold streak and then we were on a hot streak, and now we're just back to normal. So congrats to whoever won that today. 210 sats, courtesy of our best friends at Bitcoin Well, the best Bitcoin platform that exists. Look at this sexy website. 3 reasons why I love Bitcoin Well. You guys know what they are? Number 1, they're on Team Bitcoin. I've used exchanges before, many of them, probably over 10. And a lot of them are team government. A lot of them are really intrusive on what they want, what they need. They make you go through all these hoops to fit their KYC requirements. Bitcoin Well is not like that. You have to go through the usual stuff, but you can tell that they're on Team Bitcoin. Which is important, because if shit ever goes south here, you want to have your information in terms of your privacy. You want it to be in good spots. You don't want it to be all over the world, and especially at exchanges that are more in line with government than with Bitcoin. Number 2 is the fees. When you're buying a lot of Bitcoin, when you're buying big amounts of Bitcoin, the fees really add up. And the fees at Bitcoin Well are by far the lowest. They're, I think, 1.2%, which is the lowest I've seen in my life. And I don't know if that's a worldwide thing, but they're the lowest fees. And that makes a difference if you understand the value of sats. And finally, the website itself is the best, easiest to use platform that exists. So whenever I'm sending friends, family, people to buy Bitcoin for the first time, it has to be fairly easy to figure out how to do it. And not only is it easy, but it's very functional. You can buy, you can set up a recurring buy, you can do lightning withdrawals. You can sell Bitcoin if you ever need to, very easily. I've done it, tried it, worked great. You can pay bills on there, and you can actually swap from Lightning to on-chain. So if you're somebody who has a bunch of Bitcoin on-chain in your hardware device or in your wallet, and you're like, well, I want to be on NOSTR, I want to zap Arnie's QR code, you can actually use Bitcoin Well to swap it from your on-chain to Lightning for free. And vice versa. If you're somebody who's adding value online and you're getting some sats on NOSTR and you want to convert that into, you want to send that to your cold storage, you can do it for free. Swap on Lightning to on-chain and send it to your cold storage. So Bitcoin Well is absolutely second to none in terms of Bitcoin platforms. And if you use that link there, you get 5 free tosses into the wishing well, which is pretty cool too. Easy to use, lots of functionality, and it's fun. You toss a coin into the wishing well and you get free sats. Could be up to 1 million sats. I don't know if they've ever given away 1 million, but that's what they claim. What's the best setup for a multi-sig? Sorry, we're out of time. I've answered quite a few questions today, and that's a more advanced conversation to have, I would say. What's a beginner cold wallet? Jade, Passport, Cold Card. Swan Bitcoin charges 1% no fee to move out. They also charge you $150 from their custodian that they don't tell you about or refund for you. If you're still using Swan at this point, I'm sorry, Grant, but I don't mean to pick on you here. But if you're still using Swan at this point, it's like using a ledger. There's just been so much bad press, bad things that have come out. I don't recommend Swan to anybody. Even if they had 0 fees, I would not use Swan. They're a bad company. Ryan says, has the number of Bitcoin whole corners peaked? I think so. I really do. Oh, Zapstream's down. Did my thing run out? Oh no. Okay, well let's wrap her up here. Looks like the Zaps are down. Good time to leave. So everybody, thank you once again for the Zaps, especially to Letha today. That was a big fat Zap that made my day today. And thanks for the rest of them. Very much appreciate everybody, and especially the people who show up here every day. There's probably about 10 or 20 people who kind of carry the weight for everybody around here. And I very much appreciate you all. So it's good. I appreciate everybody showing up, asking questions, being part of the show. But big thanks to the people who continue to support the show, because as you know, show up every day. There's nobody paying a salary here for me. So it is the donations and the support that keep me coming back, and Arnie too. Hey, Arnie, look at this fella. Look at that handsome fella. All right. So have yourselves a great Thursday. We'll be back here tomorrow, and I highly encourage everybody, if you haven't yet, join the Living in the Future and get in on the proof of work. It's going to change your life. I guarantee it'll be the best decision you make. Maybe in your life, but definitely this year. Referral code for Sitwell. I've never heard of that before. What's Sitwell or Bitwell? Bitcoin Well? Just go to bitcoinwell.com/Jor and it'll bring up your, it'll take you to the spot. And look at this last minute super chat from Bird Meta. It's an option too. If you don't have the Zaps, if you're not on Zapstream, if you don't have a Lightning wallet, you can send in a super chat like Bird Meta here. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Thanks, Duncan. Everybody else, have yourselves an amazing day today. Thanks for being here. And thank you for the Zaps and super chats. We'll see everybody. Oh, no, we won't see you tomorrow. We'll see you today. We'll see you at 2 p.m. Eastern time today, I think. Bitcoin Generations. It'll be on this channel. It'll be on Bodie's channel. But I'm pretty sure we're doing a show at 2 p.m. today. So for the baby boomers and people who are somewhat new to Bitcoin, make sure you check that out. We do that every Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll see you there. All right.